Alright, so after I saw Adam from Psych Substance's video where he did a drug tier list, I thought that was a great idea and I should do one as well. So this isn't every substance that I've tried, but this is a tier list of every substance that I have tried as of 2022 that that I thought was worthy to be put on here, because a lot of them just wasn't really worth it. Um, uh, let's start off with saying I don't recommend you take any drug ever for any reason. Um, this tier list is going to I'm gonna rank these based off of essentially, um, you know, if they met my expectations and did what I was hoping they would do for me. Because I used pretty much all of these for different reasons, and I'm gonna rank them on how well they achieved that, and also I'm gonna factor in as well that how safe they were for me to use, and um, you know, uh, pretty much if they were actually beneficial or were too addicting or something like that, or had side effects. And obviously, this is going to be very subjective, as with all substances. It's completely subjective. Your mileage will vary, because substances affect everyone very differently. So this is just how this is how I responded to these, and um, this is my subjective opinions on these substances. So we're going to start with number one on the list, which is going to be good old cannabis. Cannabis I haven't used in a very long time. It's been about 2 years at this point. And for me, I would say cannabis, you know, it was good for reducing anxiety, and I wanted to say that it was perfect for that, but it also had downsides of essentially kind of if I wouldn't take it every day when I was smoking it every day, it would make me anxious and not be able to think straight, stuff like that. And honestly, I just don't think it's very good for daily use at all. And personally, I would say I'm gonna have to put it in probably like B, because it would end up giving me, like, it's too unpredictable, because you never really know exactly the levels of the cannabinoids that you're getting in cannabis flower, and it wouldn't always give me the experience that I was seeking out. And yeah, so I'm gonna have to put that one in B. 1,4-butanidol is a GHB prodrug, and I kind of used it to replace my occasional alcohol usage, and the experience is very much more euphoric and enjoyable, and with less side effects. There really isn't a hangover, and I think it's a little bit. I mean, this one is also liver toxic like alcohol, but it overall, I think it's genuinely probably safer than alcohol. But still, that's just my opinion on it. Personally, I would have to put it probably in A. It was very enjoyable, and but it's definitely, being a GABAergic substance, it can be addictive, and it shouldn't be used often at all if you're gonna do it. But it's definitely probably better than alcohol, I would say. Next is going to be Sunnyfram, which is a race tam, and it's a nootropic, and it was very effective for improving my memory and my focus, especially. The race tams do things like promote acetylcholine and glutamate, and Sunnyfram, you could take it sublingually, which is what I did with it, and it essentially gives you like a rush of clarity. Like it's not dopaminergic or serotonergic at all, so you won't get any euphoria if that's what you're expecting out of this. It's not a dopaminergic stimulant, and yeah, this one has been really good to me. It's really good for reading textbooks if you are like me and you have ADHD and you tend to, like, as you're reading through a paragraph, kind of trail off and realize that you pretty much completely stopped reading and you're thinking about something else, but then you have to go back because you're like, whoa, I didn't even realize I stopped reading for a minute there. This definitely helped with that, and I'd put it probably in, I'd say Sunny Fram probably somewhere between A and S tier for me, because I really enjoyed the experience. You do have to be careful with dosing it though, because it's very potent, so you have to volumetrically dose it, but that was pretty easy for me to figure out, and I really enjoyed it, so I'm going to put it at the beginning of A. Next we have F-phenibut. It's structurally related to phenibut over here, and F-phenibut for me was not quite as enjoyable as phenibut for my purpose of kind of having a nice GABAergic substance to take occasionally for recreational effect. This one was a lot more sedating and less stimulating and euphoric, and I'd say I'd put it probably like, I don't know, and also it comes with the addiction potential that other GABAergic substances have. It's kind of nice for boosting phenibut. I'll just take a small amount of it with phenibut sometimes just to have a little extra disinhibition and sedation if I want that. So I'd probably put it maybe in B or C. I guess for now I'll put it in C, because it's alright, but it's not, I don't know, it's not horrible. Next we have, easily this is going to be an S tier for me. This is 4-HOMET. It's a structurally related to psilocybin. Well, actually 4-HODMT, which is psilocin, which is what psilocybin breaks down into in your body. And 4-HOMET has less of the head fuckery that comes with shrooms, and I'd say that's why it's probably my favorite psychedelic ever, probably my favorite drug ever. It completely erases my depression. It's pretty incredible how good it is at that, and I enjoy microdosing it. You have a little bit less fear of having an overdoing the microdose with this one, because it doesn't have a very strong head trip even on the higher doses, and the higher doses are pretty incredible. The body high is a lot more comfortable than that of shrooms, and I just overall enjoy this entirely. Next we have Kanna extract, which I'm going to put probably in A tier, maybe right before the butanidol. Using it for recreational purposes, it's quite incredible. Recreational meaning infrequent use, but higher doses for an actual psychoactive effect that feels good. This one can also be used medicinally, so you could just take it like you would an SSRI for antidepressant effect. And honestly, I don't think any drug should be taken every day. That's just my personal opinion. But for, you know, a fun day every once in a while, I absolutely love this one, and it is more good feeling than the butanidol in my opinion, so I'll have to put it there. Delta 8 THC I'm also going to put it before cannabis, but I'm going to keep it in B tier. Delta 8 was a lot more functional for me, and I actually enjoyed not being completely unable to, like, it just destroyed my memory and stuff, cannabis would, but Delta 8, it's actually been proven to, I think, promote acetylcholine or something, which might be why it doesn't affect your memory as much. And it's a lot more, it's like a more functional cannabis, and I just enjoyed that experience a lot more. Next we have dextromethorphan, which is a dissociative drug that can be found over the counter. I'm gonna have to put this one probably in B tier as well. I'd say it was more interesting than cannabis was for me, but it wasn't very like euphoric or pleasurable to me. It was just something that was unique and interesting, the disassociatives, but I wouldn't say it was something that there was not really much benefit from it. It did have an antidepressant effect, but it was, for me, negligible compared to the psychedelics. Next we have Xanax, which I'm going to put straight to D tier. It essentially for me had no recreational value whatsoever. It was it it's just, I mean, with its addiction potential and everything put together, it's just not something that I find worth it at all unless you absolutely need it for like severe anxiety disorders and other stuff like that. Next we have ketamine, which I've tried probably twice, and it for me was not very enjoyable or euphoric whatsoever at all. And it was interesting, and I would say it was definitely very interesting. And because of its short duration, I wasn't afraid to venture into the higher doses. So it's more hallucinogenic than I would say the DXM was, because I wasn't afraid to venture into higher doses. But again, neither of them really gave me much value or benefit. But that being said, I will probably put it in. I'd probably put it before. I'd probably leave it in B with these other ones. Probably put it above those, because it was quite interesting. I would say the experience was quite interesting. Just wasn't really worth it, and you know, with all this talk about it having an antidepressant effect, I really just didn't get that from it. I think it's because it has to be done with psychotherapy involved, and it just didn't really do that for me. Alcohol, I'm probably going to put in D, specifically because of the side effects it gave me. I absolutely enjoyed the hell out of the experience of alcohol, but after using it, it would give me heart palpitations, and like even just one or two drinks and I will feel horrible for like the next day, and it's really just not worth it at all. It is definitely going to be the bottom of the list, very much so a D tier. I absolutely did not enjoy it whatsoever. Next we have 2CB, which is probably one of the ones that I've the least experience with. I will say it was very similar to LSD for me in the fact that it was very stimulating and very, very clear-headed, this one. I've only done the lower doses of most of the psychedelics that I will talk about. I'd say probably the highest I've gone is probably with mushrooms, and I'll get to that. But 2CB like pretty much instantly cured both my ADHD and depression upon dosing, which I thought was very interesting, and I definitely want to experiment more with it at some point, and I'll definitely have to put that in. Probably for now I'll leave it in high A tier. Yeah, probably somewhere like here. But until I explore a little bit deeper with it, I think it's not going to be an S tier for me yet. Next we have, I believe that is, what is that? Can't read that. Hold on, I gotta figure out what that is. I believe that was, I think that's aniracetam, correct. Okay. Aniracetam is also a nootropic racetam substance, and it's longer lasting than that of Sunnyfram. Oh, that got moved out of the way. Oops. But honestly, for me, I would say that Sunnyfram, aniracetam, I didn't really get as much of a benefit from it. It seems like less noticeable than Sunnyfram, and I personally, it didn't really just work for me that well, so I'm gonna put it probably in like C tier, because it wasn't as effective for me as Sunnyfram was. Next, we have dimethyltryptamine, good old DMT. DMT, personally, I haven't really done any breakthrough doses or anything like that, so I have a lot of exploring left to do with this compound. But for the low doses, the antidepressant effect I didn't find to be very strong. So, and you know, but it is very nice. I do like how short the experience is. If I just want to try a little bit of a psychedelic headspace for 5 minutes and then be right back to normal, it's very nice for that. So I know some of you are gonna be mad, but eventually I will try a breakthrough dose, and probably this will change in the future. But as for right now, I'm going to have to put it probably in B tier, or maybe, yeah, I'll put it in low A, because I have a lot more exploring to do with that compound, and for right now it's just the antidepressant effect wasn't enough for what I enjoy with psychedelics. Oh, this is aniracetam. So what the hell is this? Oh, this is fasoracetam. Okay, sorry. Okay, so aniracetam is going to be right here. Fasoracetam I still haven't really done much with, but it was definitely more noticeable than the aniracetam for me, and it had a nice antidepressant effect that I enjoyed. So yeah, I'll put that like high, yeah, somewhere in there, B tier. It was actually a good racetam, which is it. Fasoracetam is also a racetam along with aniracetam. Next we have chlorohydrate, which is just a GABAergic sedative. It's kind of similar to alcohol in that it's kind of hits most of the GABA receptors somewhat, but it's more cleaner of a GABAergic because it doesn't have the serotonergic action, and I don't think it has the NMDA antagonism that alcohol has. So I'll probably put it, I don't know, probably D tier. It just wasn't really worth it. Probably definitely better for these two because you can use it for sleep. You just can't use it too often or even regularly at all, because then it'll make falling asleep naturally harder. But if you really need to sleep one night, it's pretty good for that. Next we have caffeine, which I'm going to put in probably A tier somewhere. I absolutely love caffeine. It's very easy to overdo caffeine for me, so I just have to be careful with it. But other than that, one Diet Coke and I feel absolutely great afterwards. Next we have kava kava, which I've experimented with the heavy kavas and the heady kavas. The heavy kavas being the more like benzo-like ones that are sedating, good for sleep and whatnot, and the heady kavas, which have more of a dopaminergic effect and are more stimulating. I definitely like the heady kavas more. They're really good for lowering your anxiety during the day and kind of balancing you out. And if you drink a small amount of it, it's very, very nice. It's good for drinking before you go cleaning or something. Gives you a little bit of stimulation and a mood uplift. It's good for sociability too. And I definitely have to put kava somewhere in B tier probably, or actually no, I'll put it in A tier. Kava was great and I really want more of it. It's just so expensive. That's the only issue with it. It is quite expensive. Next we have kratom, which you can take at low doses for a stimulating effect and high doses for a pain relieving opioid effect. The opioid effects I never really found enjoyable whatsoever. The high doses and the extracts and whatnot. The low doses were pretty nice for like before cleaning and stuff. I kind of used it similar to kava in that aspect, but I did find kava to be more enjoyable, and obviously kava tastes leagues better than kratom, to me at least. Kratom has a horrible taste that I absolutely just, even thinking about it makes my stomach hurt a little bit, so I'll have to put kratom probably in C tier, like low C tier. It has its benefits, but the smell and the taste and it's just the stimulation is not worth it. Next we have LSD 25, classical LSD. I will have to put that one in S tier. I loved LSD for the few times that I have done it. I'm not quite the biggest fan of its long duration because you have to plan for like a whole day to have the experience, which is not the case for 4-HMT. For 4-HMT, it lasts about 3 to 4 hours for me. This will last probably 6 to 8 hours for me, depending on the dose. But it's still, I find it very enjoyable, very clear-headed. Still more, not quite as clear-headed as 4-HMT, but it is one of my favorite psychedelics, nevertheless. Next we have memantine, which is an NMD antagonist. It also promotes dopamine, and you can use it as a nootropic, and that is what my use for it entailed. I would say memantine was pretty interesting. Definitely helped me when I was preparing for one of my college exams at one point, and but I haven't used it that often, so I can't say much more about it. So I'd have to put it probably in B tier. Yeah, like low B tier, right there probably. Next we have nitrous oxide and or laughing gas, if you will, and absolutely this one is pretty incredible especially when combined with a psychedelic. It is a very interesting experience. By itself, not so much. When I very early on, when I was lighter and first started using it, it was even interesting by itself, but nowadays it's pretty much only good with psychedelic, and I'd say probably have to put it like, high B tier, or yeah, probably high B tier. It's probably one of the best B tiers for sure. Because of the psychedelic combo, it makes it so unique, and it's very clean on the body. It's like very untoxic, besides depleting B12 storages, which if you're taking it, not very often like you should be anyways, isn't really an issue. Okay, so now we have phenibut, which for phenibut I'm going to probably place it in A tier. Phenibut is a very nice chemical. You can't really take it very often because it is incredibly physically addicting, similar to alcohol withdrawal if you take it too much. It's definitely not something you want to take more for recreational use. Probably more, you won't want to take it more than like once every 2 weeks, but it does differ for different people. Some people, they'll have withdrawal after just taking it once. For me, it hasn't been an issue, so I could usually take it probably once every 2 weeks for the higher doses. And then if I am doing a job interview or something and just need a little bit of relaxation, you can take the lower doses, and it helps you perform better in those stressful situations. So for phenibut, I'm probably going to put it in A tier for me. Probably somewhere near the butanidol. It's very similar chemically and effects wise. Next we have PRL 853, which is another nootropic substance that it potentiates the dopamine transporters or something like that. And I haven't really done much with this one yet, but it seemed to definitely have some good effects on memory. But I do think I need to do a little bit more experimentation with it. So for now, I'll just put it probably in B tier because it definitely wasn't bad or anything like that. Psilocybin mushrooms, personally for me, they're probably going to be I know everyone's going to hate me for this, but I'm probably going to put them in a C tier. Maybe B tier, because I do need to do more experimentation with them. I think the times that I've done them, my set and setting just wasn't very good, and because of that, didn't have the greatest experiences with them. And overall, I just prefer more clear-headed psychedelics, and this one is has a very intense head trip, as they say. Next we have Salvia Dinivorum. I've done the Salvia 10x and plain leaf smoked. And I've only done low doses, so I haven't gone super far with this one, similar to my experiences with DMT. And for low doses, I would say it's pretty okay. It's not. My reasons for using it were just to try something interesting that's hallucinogenic, and it was that. It was interesting. It wasn't really euphoric by any means. Wasn't really bad by any means. So the only thing that I can reasonably give Salvia is right in B tier. It's pretty much just I'm on the fence of it. It wasn't. It does give you nice dreams, interesting dreams though, if you smoke it right before bed. Next I have Tianeptine, which I use for antidepressant purposes, and personally didn't really find it that effective. And apparently, this one is addictive if you take it in high doses too often because it has opioid binding activity. So I don't know, I'll put it probably like C tier. It's not really that interesting to me or unique. Next we have one that I was pretty fond of, honestly, and it's not very toxic on your body or anything like that, and it's definitely a very interesting experience, and that's diethyl ether. Now, the one issue with this chemical is it is a volatile compound, so it is very flammable. You can't smoke cigarettes after using it, and you have to store it in a very particular way to make sure it doesn't build up too much of the volatility. Because of that, I don't think I could give it S tier. I'm definitely going to give it A tier because at higher doses it has a dissociative effect that's very interesting. Kind of reminds me of nitrous a little bit, but like a longer, slower version of nitrous. And it also has GABAergic activity, making it very relaxing and a nice experience. Has some closed eye visuals that I found interesting if you go deep enough with it. And obviously with most drugs, as long as you're using it infrequently and in a responsible doses, you can have a good experience, especially with this one. I'll put it probably like, I'll put it right above the 2CB for now, because I definitely really enjoyed that one, and I would love to do it again at some point. Next we have tobacco, which I've been on and off a regular tobacco smoker. I'm a regular tobacco smoker at the moment. I do need to quit again, this time for good, because I only really started to give me some extra focus while I'm in college, and now I just need to quit again because it not really doing much for me at the moment. So I'll put it in probably, like the high end of the D tier. Yeah, that seems about right. Next we have modafinil, which works wonders for my ADHD. It is truly incredible what this compound can do for my ADHD and my depression as well. It seems to have a nice antidepressant effect. And if I think I might have like sleep apnea or something, honestly. And on nights when I don't get very good sleep and I just feel horrible in the morning, if I take some modafinil, I just feel amazing. It can turn, feeling like I had 6 hours of sleep to feeling like I got 9 hours of sleep. It's pretty incredible what this stuff can do, and it definitely increases my motivation more than any other nootropic substance that I've tried, and a little bit of my focus. But I would say the race tams are better for improving focus, while this actually just gives me the motivation to start doing stuff, where the race tams are better at making me efficient at doing the tasks. So I'll put modafinil in A tier. It's pretty good for what I use it for. Probably like somewhere right there, I guess. Right above the Sunny Frame, because when I need it the most, it is perfect for what it does. Seriously, it's very good for what it does. Next we have Vyvanse, which I was prescribed when I was younger, and I don't really remember that it was that good for what I was using it for ADHD. And personally, there's a lot of side effects with these dopaminergic stimulants, so probably gonna just put it in D tier. Yeah, I don't really think I would ever want to do Vyvanse ever again. Definitely was, more beneficial for me than any of these, so I'll put it at the top of D tier. And then finally we have Zopiclone, which is a hypnotic GABA A agonist sedative. Works similarly to benzodiazepines, but I guess because of the way it binds to the receptor, it functions very differently from benzodiazepines. And the example I will give is if you're on a psychedelic and you take a benzodiazepine, that will completely reduce your anxiety, and it won't potentiate the trip at all. It'll weaken it. But if you're on a psychedelic and you take Zopiclone or Ambien, it will potentiate the experience very highly, to the point where you might even go into delirium. And I've had an experience of combining this with DMT that I'll probably do a video about at some point. That was very interesting. I did a very low dose of DMT while on Zopiclone, and the visuals were just some kind of, it was very interesting. It increased the movement of the visuals significantly. I don't know, it didn't really increase the color, but the movement was a lot more realistic, if that makes sense, and dreamlike, rather than the I don't know. It's very interesting. I'll do a video about it eventually. But Zopiclone, for mixing it with psychedelics, is interesting. But I would definitely go very, very low on the psychedelic dose. If you're gonna do it, and that you should not do it at all. But for me, yeah, I did it with a very low dose of psychedelic, and just for increasing for as a normal sleep medication, using it for its intended purposes, it definitely does what it's supposed to do. It improves my sleep quality and increases the length of my sleep and helps me get to sleep faster, so it does work for that. So for Zopiclone, I'm going to put it probably in A tier as well. Actually, yeah, no, I'll put it in B tier. It's very interesting. And do keep in mind, for this tier list, I'd say I'm pretty well versed in making sure to dose responsibly and all that. So if you try any of these, you could have a completely different experience from what I had, and I don't recommend you do it at all, especially if you aren't doing your own research and you're just listening to someone on the internet. Definitely would not recommend it at all. Any of this, of course, don't do it. Don't do drugs. That is the best way you can stay safe, is by not doing drugs at all. But anyways, that is going to be my drug tier list for 2022, and I do have that video coming out soon. I'm still working on it, trying to think about exactly what I want to put into that video for drug policy reform, but I will get that out as soon as I am comfortable with what I've created. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.